podcast producer. A good guy, really good guy. If you're ever, Rachel, looking for someone to maybe either guide you or provide you with some information, if you ever want to do your own podcast at some point, I'd love to make the introduction.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. All righty, so I'm going to go ahead and do my little blurb, and then we'll invite you to the show.
Great.
Celebrating 10 years in business, brought to you by Go Legal Yourself, an online business specializing in legal tools for entrepreneurs. Today, we're interviewing Rachel LaMar with LaMar Real Estate. This is episode 52. I'm your host, Attorney Kelly Bagla, the Queen of Business Law. You can interact with us on social media, and definitely do find us on the web at golegalyourself.com. Today, I have the pleasure of interviewing Rachel LaMar. She is the founder and owner of LaMar Real Estate, a boutique brokerage. Welcome, Rachel.
Hi, Kelly. Thank you for having me.
It's wonderful to have you on the show. We have so many similarities.
We do.
We could spend the next 40 minutes just comparing notes.
We could. We'd probably bore people.
Oh, trust me, they'll be intrigued. But the first thing I definitely want to mention and let our audience know that you are an attorney.
I am. Yes.
Are you practicing?
I don't practice per se, but only because I don't have malpractice insurance right now, because my main business is residential real estate. So while I don't practice law, I could, but I'm busy enough with the real estate, and it's a great background to have in this industry.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I think most of our Congress people, they're all lawyers, aren't they?
I think so.
It's a great tool to fall back on, if you will.
Maybe we shouldn't compare ourselves to the politicians right now.
Oh, no. I would never say that. I mean, I think they give lawyers a bad name. That's how bad politicians are. Well, that's one thing we have in common. We are both attorneys. Mm-hmm. What we like to share with the audience on the show is some sort of attorney joke. I'm sure you have plenty. Do you have a favorite?
Oh gosh, you're putting me on the spot. You should have told me that beforehand. I really don't. I can't think of one. Do you have one?
I've got thousands, yes, but okay, I think people have already heard mine. How about any joke at all?
Well, I guess this is not really a joke, but it's funny. One of my dear friends said to me many years ago when I went into the real estate industry, she said, Rachel, you're a lawyer and you sell real estate. Now all you have to do is sell used cars and you will be one of the most hated people in the world. That's a joke, but funny.
Isn't it terrible? Isn't it terrible how these professions have such a bad name?
It is. It's just a few of them that, kind of ruin it for the rest of us who do have ethics and do our jobs with the goal in mind to take care of people. So it is really sad.
Yes, you're absolutely right. But we are changing minds one podcast episode at a time, right? So as far as we know right now, Rachel, the Go Legal Yourself podcast has gone international. It's in probably 23 countries already.
Nice.
So your audience isn't just going to be here in the US. You're going to have people listening to you around the world.
Wonderful.
The title is Celebrating 10 Years in Business. First of all, congratulations. That's a huge, huge milestone.
Well, thank you. I've actually been in the business for 17 years, but 10 years since I started my own company. So
wow.
Yes.
Okay, now this is getting really creepy. That's the other thing you and I have in common. I have been practicing now for 17 years. And I just celebrated last year my 10th year anniversary for Bagla Law Firm.
Wow, that's fantastic.
You and I are on parallel tracks here. This is wonderful.
Yeah, I don't want to tell you how long I've been a lawyer, but that's wonderful.
I won't ask.
Okay.
So obviously it takes a certain mindset for someone to be in the same profession for 17 years
Yeah.
and to have their own business for 10 years strong.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us a little about yourself, Rachel. How did you get to where you are right now? Because obviously you are a very well sought after real estate broker. That's what I hear.
No, thank you. Yeah, so I basically, when I was a kid, I had tunnel vision. I wanted to be a lawyer since I was 12. And I just knew
Mine, I
that was,
was when I was 5.
yeah, we talked about this. So that was just like the trajectory. So I followed that path and I went to law school and I started practicing law. But the thing is, I used to work for the Ventura County District Attorney's Office when I was in law school. And when I graduated back in the 90s, I won't say when, no, there was a hiring freeze across the state of California. So none of the interns could be hired. So all of a sudden, you know, I was being offered jobs from 2 different departments within the DA, and what am I going to do? So I started contracting out my services, and then we moved to San Diego, and I did the same thing. And it was really difficult, but I wasn't happy because I wasn't doing what I liked. So then I got pregnant with my first child, and at the time decided to stop working because I was working for different attorneys, but like I said, it wasn't my place really. I did write some briefs that went up to the state Supreme Court and won cases and such, but I wasn't happy. So
I think, Rachel, you touched upon something really important there. So I'm going to be interjecting now and then, right?
okay.
Because this is a very important point that the audience definitely needs to understand, is that you didn't like it, right? It wasn't something that you liked as far as a profession goes. There's so many people around the world that are stuck in something that they have to do, right? And there's just no way out of it. You and I feel very blessed that we're able to do what we absolutely love to do. So first point is, it wasn't something that you enjoyed doing.
Well, okay, so I loved being a lawyer, but I just wasn't in the right place. And at the time, the market here in San Diego County was so inundated and so tight and close knit that, and because of all the government hiring freezes at the time, you really had to know people. So when I moved here from Ventura County, California, it was really hard to find the job that I wanted. So I did various jobs, but they were really kind of under for lack of sounding, I don't know, snobby. They were just kind of under me. Like I was a legal secretary. I was things like that. So I wasn't happy, but then I got pregnant. So it was kind of a great time for me to say, okay, I'm going to step back for a little bit. I always saw myself having this big career. I'm going to step back and then I'm going to come back to this, you know, in a couple years and see what I want to do. So I ended up taking off 7 years to raise my kids. When my youngest was in preschool several days a week, I thought to myself, okay, it's time to go back and have a career. But at the time, because my kids were so little, I didn't want to go back into law because I wanted to be there for the first everything, you know, that they did, and be there for them when they came home. And so my mother had been in real estate for many years in Los Angeles County, where I grew up. And she was one of the top, like she was a huge agent back in the 80s. And so I always swore I'd never do that. But I thought at this time, back in 2003, I thought, hey, I can do real estate and be a mom, which, you know, is a common misconception.
Right.
So I did that and I got my license, and it was a great time because when I got into the business, I started working for the first internet-based company, which gave me leads. And my path just literally went like this, and I became the top producer in the county. So because of that business, my client base started to grow exponentially, and I loved it. And so it kind of kept me on this path, which I think in my business, the hard thing is, like my son who's 23, he went into real estate years ago. But the hardest thing is to find a client. Like, how do you build the base up? You have to get really creative and put a lot of time into it. And there can be a lot of time spent where you're not making a paycheck. And so for me, I had this great base started for me, and it just snowballed from there.
That's fantastic. And you are right. Especially in San Diego County, it's more of a relationship driven society, I would say. They want to get to know who you are first before they actually do business with you. And I've found that in San Diego, people are genuinely quite loyal. Have you found that, especially in real estate?
I mean, I would say 99% of my clients have just been so loyal, and there's only a handful that either I've chosen not to work with again, very, very few, or for whatever reason they went and worked with someone else, not because whatever, they were a friend's friend or this or that. So I feel really blessed to have my clients because they definitely are what keep me going. I don't really do any marketing. The only marketing I do is in my own neighborhood. But other than that, everything's referral based and people I meet. So I'm so blessed to have that and not have to get out there and hit the pavement all the time and try
Right.
to find people, because I know the people who are coming to me are great referrals from my clients, and I love my clients. So
Of course, of course.
yeah,
That's what keeps us going. I absolutely love my clients too, and I'm at a point where I can pick and choose my clients. I'm sure you do absolutely
yes.
too. So you've been in the real estate business for 17 years. You've seen the ups and downs of it. But what possessed you, because literally it is possession, what possessed you to open your own boutique brokerage?
Oh, that's an easy one. So when I started in the business in 2003, I went into kind of the corporate real estate world, which is what most agents do. And I think you and I have talked about this, Tim, very kind of a do-it-yourself. I don't need to go to a meeting. I don't need to have my hand held. I'm very like, if you need it done, it's going to be done yesterday type of person. I'm very anal retentive, but
Absolutely.
type A. But so I started in this corporate real estate, and over time I worked in a couple other real estate firms. One was boutique, one a couple corporate, a smaller one and a large one. And all the time I question, what am I doing? I don't need someone telling me what to do. I don't need someone saying I have to pay them money. I have to come into the office. I have to, do things this way, because I knew that the way that I did things was the right way, and I felt comfortable, and I didn't need someone breathing over my shoulder because of my experience as an attorney. I knew that, I understood these documents more than 99% of the agents out there. So the only reason that it took me so long to do it, that I went 7 years, was because literally I was afraid of the costs involved of incorporating and all the things that you do that come with that. And so finally one day I just said, this is ridiculous, and I just did it. And it was the best thing. It was really the best decision I've ever made, to go out on my own and be my own boss.
If I may dovetail on that too, as I said, you and I are living parallel lives, right? You
Mm-hmm.
have two-footed kids, I've got four-footed kids. And absolutely love what I do. I, like you, I started out in a big firm, got my experience there, went to a smaller firm. And at that point, it got to a point where I'm deciding, if I can make somebody else money, why can't I do it for myself? Right.
Exactly.
And then the fact that some of the stuff you weren't quite familiar with, or it kind of held you back as far as starting your business, as far as incorporating it and really creating a real life business, where some point down the road you can actually sell this business, right? You've created goodwill around the name, you've created a great reputation, you've accumulated assets, and now this is a sellable business. So here on the Go Legal Yourself show, we encourage entrepreneurs to start businesses, to grow businesses, and treat the business as if they can get an offer from anyone tomorrow. Are they ready to sell? People aren't going to stick around for maybe a year or 10 years and say, okay, we'll wait until you're ready to sell. That's not how business is done.
Right.
So you finally started your business, and how did you grow your business throughout the years? What were some of the most difficult um, difficult obstacles that you had to climb? Because we all do, if
Mm-hmm.
you've been in business for 10 years plus. And how did you get over those?
I think in the beginning, the first 6 months when I signed up with a corporate firm and I got my license, It was really challenging. And what I did, this is way back in 2003, before email was just a normal everyday thing. Of course, we didn't have texting and all that. So what I did at the time is I hand wrote letters to every single person in my address book, everyone I knew, all my friends, all my family, near or far, wherever they were. Hey, I started this new business. I'm a real estate agent now in San Diego County, blah, 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 please support me type of thing. And I went on for 6 months working and showed property and worked with friends of friends, but never actually had a sale. And then there was a new company starting at the time. It was the first internet-based real estate company called Zip Realty. And I went and trained. They flew me out to San Francisco Bay Area. I trained with them on their platform, which was phenomenal. I came back and I basically was given leads. And now everybody sells leads. I get calls at least every other day. I get a call or a text or an email trying to sell me leads, which now I refuse to spend money on that. But
Right.
at the time, they were giving me these leads and everyone in the company was complaining now, these leads are terrible. And oh my gosh, I'm going to quit. And I just put my head down and I'm like, I kept working those leads and I started, picking up clients and selling property. So very quickly, I just, like I said, my career just went up. And the more I sold, the more leads I was given. And so I didn't really have challenges, I guess, that an average agent today has, in the sense that they have to build their own. I mean, yes, you can buy leads, but I just don't think the quality of what's out there is very good.
Right.
Most people aren't just going to, well, some people will go on a site like a Redfin or Zillow, and they'll try to, oh, hey, look, I can get some money back if I work with one of these agents. So click, but the thing is, yeah, you might get the money back, but the service you get, and I'm not knocking any of these sites, but just on these big sites where they try to hook you up with someone in order to give you money, that person might not be as experienced as me, or someone who's been in the business for a really long time and has also a legal background. So I think for me, in a sense, I guess you could say it was a little easier because of the time I came into it and because of the time that I had to build up my client base before everyone and their mothers jumped into the industry. And, but also for now, what I need to do to keep up is really stay on top of everything. And a lot of it has to do with, just technology. So that's always a challenge, to keep up with the technology and what's next. And I still, I'm old school, so I do a lot of blogging and things like that. But I do video as well, and try to keep in touch with my clients.
Fantastic. You might hear some noise in the background. You might hear some snoring. I can promise you it's not me.
It's a dog.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. So I do have 4 of them, and they're quarantined with me in my office. And so if you hear anything, it's just them relaxing.
Okay.
I call them my associates. So real estate, as you've said, it's changed, right, drastically from the time you started to the time now. Yeah. But there seems to be a misconception for people out there that think that real estate, anybody can literally go pass the exam and pick up and start selling property. What would your advice be, Rachel, to someone that thinks along those lines?
Wow. Okay. So you hit a lot of important topics. We'll try to break it down. First of all, real estate is not this just let's jump in and make some money type of situation. It's really a full-time job. And I think the number one misconception is, when times are bad, or I guess, even when times are good. Like right now we're going through this crazy time with the coronavirus, but also when times are really good and people see real estate agents making a lot of money, they think, oh, and the test is really kind of a comical thing. It's very easy. You have to basically be 18 and have a heartbeat and not be a convicted felon. And you can, sit for the real estate exam, which, you can go online and practice, and all the questions that I'd say 90% of the questions that are going to be on your exam you'll encounter them online if you do enough practice questions. So it's not rocket science. And actually that is really frustrating to me, because as real estate agents, we're dealing with contracts, we're dealing with legalities. You're buying or selling a home is a major, legal decision, and it has ramifications. And if you don't do something right, especially if you're a seller, you don't tell your buyer something in the disclosures, you're not just liable temporarily, you're liable for a long time thereafter. So I've actually, last year was the first year that I had 2 clients who are now in big legal situations because they were the buyers and the sellers. I can't believe what the sellers did in both instances, completely failed to disclose some things that we had no way of knowing. So I think because you're getting into this kind of situation, you have to consider that this isn't just kind of a like jump in and do it. You really have to, you go past your exam, but you should work with somebody who is very experienced in the beginning, because yes, can anyone do this? They can probably after they've been shown how, but the important thing is you do it correctly, and you do it in a way that shields your client from liability. And also, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, what I've seen, Rachel, touching upon that, is especially with real estate agents, they think that they are protected by the brokerage that they're under, or they can hang their license with someone. When push comes to shove, they still literally are independent contractors. And if they don't incorporate themselves to protect themselves, because they can get sued, it's not just the brokerage, but the individual real estate agent can get sued personally. And they'll probably say, well, I have insurance. Have they actually sat down and read what's included in the insurance, what's excluded? Whether you have any priors, is your rate going to go up? Are you ever going to get insurance coverage moving forward? Anytime you're doing business with the public, highly recommend, yes, be incorporated if you're self-employed, and 2, get proper insurance and make sure you understand what coverage you have. As far as like you said, yes, if somebody can do it, but at least get the experience with either a brokerage or another real estate agent that's been in the business for a while, because just like any other profession, the contracts have recently changed, haven't they? Probably about 2 or 3 years ago.
There's always changes. And in fact, 2 weeks ago, the California Association of Realtors came out with a new coronavirus form. So, there's always changes, and, it's actually a contingency, giving the buyer and the seller rights if something's not closing because of the lender, or because of, things are lagging because of something with the virus. And I mean, it's a great thing, but, how many agents have read that? Exactly. I have, but,
exactly.
I mean, the thing is when you're in this business, you have to not only, keep up, you have to keep up with all the new things and the laws that are changing, but you also have to understand the contracts. And if you're not an attorney, the thing is if you or I look at the contract, to us, we can explain it to somebody. And I get questions a lot, like, can you explain this? As a real estate agent, if you are not a lawyer, you cannot explain that to your client. You can give them kind of a general idea, but if it's a legal question, you have to advise your client to talk to a lawyer. Right. And I see this time and time again. I hear agents giving legal advice, which, you can not only be sued for giving legal advice, but you can lose your license and have to pay a really heavy fine. So it's really a fine line between acting as this fiduciary for somebody, but at the same time, you can't be, you're not their attorney. And right. even myself, like I have my own form that my clients sign, whether they're buying or selling. I have a lot of investor clients, and they sign this form just letting them know that even though I'm an attorney and I'm helping them through this process, and I will do the best that I can to help them, I'm not acting as their attorney. So if they want legal advice, they have to go out and get separate counsel, because I can't put myself in that position. It's almost like kind of like a dual agency type comparison, I guess.
Right, exactly.
So I think there's just a lot of legal pitfalls that you have to really watch out for. And if you are an agent, or you're just getting into this business, or you've been in it a long time, and I know so many agents, I've seen so many situations that my husband says, like, Rachel, after all these years, nothing should faze you. And I said, every week there's something that comes up that somebody does that's just a major blunder that could create a lawsuit. And it just blows my mind, because there is very little oversight from the brokers. I have an agent. I've had several agents, but I don't want to be a manager, so I don't want to have like a huge pool of agents, so I don't do that. But I do have an agent, and I have had a couple others, and I am very, I'm probably obnoxious in their eyes because I don't let anything go out until I read it.
You have to. You absolutely have to. Well,
Yeah.
what are your plans, Rachel, for the growth of your company?
Right now it's just kind of, I just really focus on just the grassroots stuff, and just, to me, it's so important. Like I'd rather have, I'm one person. So yes, I could form a team and I could hire 30 agents like a lot of people around here do, and I could, sell a lot more, but then I lose the control of overseeing the entire transaction and making sure my clients are really protected. And to me, that's more important. So it's, and plus, like I said, I'm one person, and I would just lose so much of, not necessarily the control, not indicating that I'm a control freak in any way, but to me, it's all about, it's not just about selling a house, it's about the relationship with my client. So if the relationship is going to suffer because I now have 5 clients to deal with instead of 2 this month, or 3, or whatever it is, I won't work with somebody, because I have to be able to give it 100% to everyone I work with, so they know that they've gotten the best advice they can get and the best help. And I think that's one of the biggest problems in real estate, is especially with the agents that are so busy, and a lot of them set up teams, and they have, like I said, I know this one agent, he's a huge agent in San Diego County. He just had a podcast the other day, and he said he has 40 properties in escrow. Okay, well,
Good Lord.
yeah, I mean,
Where's the oversight?
So I had 2 in escrow, but it's to me, I know that those 2 are getting all of my, everything I can give them. So it's, like I said before, if you want to go work with a company that's going to give you money back, and you're going to go meet an agent, they're going to show you the house, and you don't know them from Adam, and they might be, 18, just out of high school. And then you want to write an offer. And so now another person's going to come in and write this offer for you from that team, because the first person that showed you the house is only the person that shows the house. And then they write an offer. And then the third person's going to meet you over there to do your inspections and this and that. I personally, I mean, some people might like that. A lot of hands in the pot, so to speak, but I personally don't work that way. So if you work with me, you work with me from the start to the close and thereafter.
Again, here goes the parallel, right? I deliberately have kept my law firm small, deliberately, because I'm the one that I want my clients to engage with. They don't have to call the office and talk to a secretary, and then talk to a paralegal, and then talk to a first year associate, and then eventually get to me. This is the type of relationship that I've built with my clients. And I think one of the major successes that I see between both of our businesses is exactly that. It's customer service, right? It's putting the client first. It's making sure that you're consistent. So I have been consistent from day one all the way through the 10 years, and I'm continuing to be consistent. So when an entrepreneur is thinking of starting their business, and they really have to think about what type of culture, what type of ethics, what type of mission or vision they want to bring to the business. Rachel, I always thought, right, every time when you go to some sort of class that they talk about, okay, well, what type of business do you want to have? You have to envision it. You have to, what's the mission for it? And what's the vision for it? I always used to think the mission and the vision was just BS. I didn't understand it. This was initially before I even went into opening my own firm. And again, when you open your own firm, you have no idea what you're doing, right? You don't know sort of what type of business you want. You have no idea whether you want to add people. You don't know whether you want different multiple locations. And sometimes a business plan is a perfect thing to have. But if you've been in business and okay, year 1 was good, and now year 2 is good, and year 3 is getting even better. And what's that one thing that's all the way through those years? It's consistency. I still have my very first client that I had 10 years ago. Right? Still get repeat business from him. I still get referrals from him. And it's because you consistently deliver the same level of service that they're used to. And I think for the entrepreneurs out there, that they really have to start thinking about that at some point too. If are you getting more clients, and what's the reason for you getting more clients?
Right.
Are you reducing more clients? What did you do in the past, and why aren't they sticking with you now? These are so many things that really go into planning, the future of a business. As far as your other activities go, right? Because I am super busy with other activities. Love law, love practicing law, but it seems like we're creative people, so there's so many other different things that we're doing. And again, another huge similarity: you are an author. Do you have a copy of your book?
I do, but not in front of me. Do you want me to grab it?
Yeah, grab it real quick and
Okay, one
show it.
sec.
Yeah.
So I've always been a writer. I love writing since I was a little child. I wrote stories, and I've always been a really strong writer. So kind of, it's interesting that I went into what I went into, which really doesn't have much to do with being creative and writing either legally, because legal writing is so different, and or as a real estate agent, of course. So my next goal in life, or my retirement, is really to write. And I did write a novel in 2003, but I didn't publish it. It's a legal thriller about a female attorney, really strong female attorney. And in 2008,
why didn't you publish it?
well, it needs a lot of, again, like I said, I'm a type A. It needs a lot of work because I wrote it very piecemeal when my kids were little, like a day here, or 5 hours here. So it needs some editing. But one day I'm going to turn that into a screenplay because it'll be a fabulous movie. It's a lot of action. And in 2008, I wrote the first book on options to foreclosure because the housing market was crashing, and I was working with another woman at her boutique brokerage, and all of our clients were calling us like, "Oh my gosh, what do we do? What do we do?" And we realized that there was nothing online, in bookstores, anywhere that talked about foreclosure options. The only option that was being talked about at the time was turning in your keys, which they called mortgage walkaway. They, drop out your keys and you can walk away into the sunset and be finished. And people were doing this. People were so relieved to have this option, but we realized what it was, especially from a legal perspective. It was basically an intentional foreclosure when you could have had so many other options. So I wrote this book, and it did really well. I was supposed to be on Larry King, but that show got canceled the last time because there was some riot or something in LA, or I don't remember. But I got some local press, and the book did really well. And then, of course, everyone copied me. So, but anyway, I'm really good at writing those kinds of help books. But I love writing children's stories. My children are both adults now, but this is a story I wrote when they were kids, and it's called Bennie Bear's Dream.
Yes.
And it's a
Where
really...
can someone purchase that?
What was that?
Where can someone purchase that?
So it can be purchased on Amazon or barnesandnoble.com.
Perfect.
And it's a really sweet story. But the greatest thing about it is I was adopted, so my big passion is helping foster kids. And so what I did was I donate a portion of the proceeds to foster care organizations. And, I'm never going to make money from this book, but it's like, for me to be able to share the story and to help in some small way, and maybe as I move forward, I'm actually going to be working on a story about myself and my birth father, and it's probably going to be fiction, but I'm going to draw a lot of draw references to being adopted and that kind of thing, and hopefully same thing that I can maybe create more awareness about foster care.
That's really incredible. Really touches the heart, and you're a very accomplished woman, Rachel. Very accomplished, and we're super honored to have you on the show.
Thank you.
Would you like to share anything else with the audience?
I would just say that if you're considering going to real estate, or no matter what, I think a woman can do anything. I was raised with that mindset, like it doesn't matter, what my genitalia are. I can do whatever I want, and I'm you know, a lot of women, I think, in this time, in this age, because what's been going on with the women's movement, we're really coming into our own. And so if you're a woman and you're thinking of starting a business, do it, because don't be afraid. It doesn't matter. When I started in law, by the way, I remember I was in a courtroom once. I had my attorney that I worked for handing me a file and said, you need to go and you need to get this hearing postponed because, you know, we need more time. Super simple. We had every reason for it to be postponed. I went to court. I was 25 years old. I was a pretty woman. I walked into the court. I was very young looking. And the attorneys on the other side, two older men, probably in their, you know, well, I say older, at the time I was 25, so they're probably in their 50s, maybe late 50s. They took one look at me and they in that second decided to take advantage of me because I was a young woman. And what then transpired, just I walked out of there. We didn't have cell phones at the time. And I got on the payphone and called my attorney, and I was speechless. I'm like, I just got taken completely advantage of, and I got my postponement denied. And I was raging mad. So I think it's enough. Like, it's enough. There's no inequality. We're not the weaker sex. We're not the one, you know, if you're a woman and you want to start a business, go for it. I mean, just
do it. Just do it.
Just do it. And don't be afraid. Like I was afraid, like I said, of, you know, the fees and the taxes and the filing. And really, you know, if they can go to you, or, you know, I mean, it's, if you have someone who can tell you everything you need to do, it's a lot less scary. And yes, it costs a little bit of money, but in the end, it's so worth it. And if you can be your own boss, if you can be a strong woman and be your own boss and do what you love to do,
that's priceless. That in itself is completely priceless. So I have written a book, right? Go Legal Yourself. Yeah. And that does tell you the steps on how to start a business, how to grow a business, and eventually how to sell it for millions. That's the goal. And I also wrote a second book, Rachel, and that's called Go Own Yourself. And that was specifically written for the entrepreneurs that are still sitting on the sideline, right? Okay, they have a business, but how do they actually go out and become recognized and become noticed? Because the world is so busy. And you might have heard this too, that we as a society, as human beings, our attention span is less than a goldfish now, right? Goldfish are what, 8 seconds? I think we're about 7 seconds. How pathetic is that? So, right. And as business owners, right, you really need to stand out from the crowd. Absolutely need to stand out. And so, yes, no one's going to take you seriously, man or woman, if you're not set up properly. If you're self-employed and you're not incorporated, I cannot press how important this is enough. If you're self-employed and you're not incorporated, you're running a hobby. No one's going to take you seriously. All those older gentlemen, especially women, if you're not incorporated, you older men, anyone, they're not going to take you seriously. And in fact, I had a huge honor, Rachel, in March, earlier this month. It is Women's Month, isn't it? March. I believe it's Women's Month. Okay. And the magazine called Insights Success Magazine, they graced me by putting me on the cover of their magazine, and I was featured in a topic called Top 20 Business Women to Watch in 2020. So if, you know, women can be on covers of business related magazines now going forward, and you've got women running Fortune 500 companies, I'm sure any woman sitting at home thinking about starting a business, just do it. Just get up and do it. But the one thing that you have to have is passion for what you're doing. Right. You have to have passion for what you're doing. Well, Rachel, how can our audience get in touch with you?
So I sell real estate in San Diego County. I have a website. It's lamarrealestate.org, and that's LAMAR. I should have put my little info on the bottom. That's and okay. You can email me at Rachel, RACHEL, at lamarrealestate.org. And I'm also on Twitter. I have a Facebook page, Rachel LaMar, LaMar Real Estate. I do a lot of blogging on my website. You can, you can actually, I have a lot of information on my website for buyers and sellers, especially in relation to short sales, and you can access listings on my website. You can read my blog. You can get some information. And yeah, if you want to reach me, you can also always Google me, Rachel LaMar Real Estate, and find many ways to contact me.
We're going to have all of your information on our show notes. So when people listen to your episode, they can have a look at the show notes and contact you via that way. We've got live links as well.
Great.
And again, want to thank you, Rachel, for being part of this show and sharing your story with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. And hopefully we can have you back again shortly.
I love it. Yeah.
And for my audience that's out there, please feel free to leave us your feedback and comments on my contact page. You can go to, again, download the app, Go Legal Yourself, from any of your app stores. It's completely free. And you can contact the show that way. And feel free to leave comments, ask questions, reach out to any of our guests that we have interviewed on the show. And remember, the only way you become successful is if you make today the day you go legal yourself. I am Attorney Kelly Bagla, the Queen of Business Law, and it's been a pleasure being your host today. Until next time, cheers to your success.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Rachel. Fantastic. You have a wonderful, wonderful day. As soon as my podcast producer has created this and put it out there, we'll send you a link. And so you can put that link either on your website, you can, share it with people, and that should help get your name out too.
Yeah, and I forgot to mention, I mean, I don't know, but if anyone's thinking about going into real estate and has questions, people call me all the time. I'm more than happy to help with that. I don't know.
We'll put that as part of your show notes.
Okay. Yeah. Happy to help answer any questions about the industry or getting started or whatever.
Fantastic. It's amazing the similarities, honestly, Rachel, that you and I have gone through.
Yeah.
Not going through.
Yeah. Similar paths.
Yes.
Yeah. Sometimes I miss, I really miss law. I miss the kind of, I miss the intellectual stimulation because a lot of the people I deal with in this business, I mean, there are some very intellectual people, but a lot of them are just not.
Right.
So I sometimes I miss just sitting around and having these stimulating conversations with people where they're just open and honest and, pose challenging questions. I miss that most of all doing what I do.
Right.
But yeah, things like this, when I get to do podcasts and such, it's really nice. And I try to give what I can to help people and people answer questions and I have a lot of tips and things that I don't know. Anyway, I know you do the same. So it's nice to give back. Try to give back.
Oh, definitely. I think once everything settles down, it'd be nice to maybe restart the, get together at least maybe once a quarter or something, just to have professional women come over and collaborate, right?
I forgot about that. Yeah, that was fun. Yeah, I mean, definitely it's great. I'm part of a group right now. I'm part of this amazing, empowering women's group. And I think there's 36 of us from around the world. And we have these Zoom calls every week. And it's so supportive and so wonderful. And it's amazing when you get together with women that you realize that so many of the women are going through similar issues. And it makes you feel that you're not alone in so many ways. And the support has been just phenomenal. So I love that. I love getting together with other women who are, a lot of women in the group I'm in now are very spiritual. So that's, to me, just been really a blessing.
Perfect.
Yeah. But yeah, it's always great when women get together because we put our minds together. We can do so much. And no one should hold anyone back. It just breaks my heart when I see all these girls. When my daughter was in high school, there were so many girls who were just afraid to be who they were. They were anxious. They were on meds for depression, anxiety, you know.
Oh, good Lord.
And oh yeah, the number of children in middle school, even in high school, and even in elementary school, believe it or not, on anxiety medications and antidepressants has just skyrocketed in the last decade. And you know, especially when you look at these young girls, and so many of them are tormented, whether it's by family members or just by society in general, especially through the media and bullying and what goes on in this time when we have so many resources, and we are too smart to, we all should realize what this is doing to our future, really. Because if we're telling the young girl, you're not good enough, you're not pretty enough, you're not skinny enough, you're not, you know, you can't do what a guy does, or, you know, or even worse with the bullying. I think as a society, like, this all falls on the parents, and it all falls on the village too. And everybody has to be part of raising these kids. Anyway, sorry, I went off on a tangent.
That's okay.
But yeah, women are amazing, and they can do so much. And I think women are the root to what's coming. I think there are going to be so many big changes, and it's going to be because of women. So, yeah, yay!
Okay, Rachel.